Welcome to another episode of Dream Rides, and yeah, we're pushing the dream, we're pushing the unobtainium element this week. James, it's good to be back here at the Bike Specialist.
Good to have you back, as always.
What is that, and where did you get it?
That is the Rolls Royce of the motorcycles.
You can say that again.
Brough Superior, that's as good as it really gets. The rich history with Brough Superiors as well. I mean, in the 40s, these were the first motorcycle to 100 miles an hour. So these were classed as fun, sexy, and fast.
We've seen quite a lot in recent years of old British marques being churned back up, and some of them have gone, like Triumph's obviously become a proper manufacturer again. Norton's become this kind of exclusive thing that has a bit of a doesn't have a checkered history, it has a checkered present.
That's right.
It's not looking great for those guys. But again, some like incredible bikes.
Yes.
Some of them have gone to like Chinese brands, have put the name. Brough has actually stayed true to its roots and built something
really
special.
It has, yeah, and I think, it's a proper bow to the original Brough Superior. I mean, these are made actually in France, in Toulouse. All hand built. It's their own engine as well, by the way.
Wow.
Which is amazing. And I like how they've got the traditional look of it. Straight away, I knew what that bike was from a distance. It's a Brough Superior, and the attention to detail is mind blowing. I mean, it's been in the showroom, and every time I walk past, I'll notice something else. I mean, look at the brake disc. It's got 4 discs on the front. The tank alone is 35 hours. Hand-beaten tank, 35 hours man-hour to actually make that fuel tank. When I actually bought this bike off the gentleman, he couldn't decide on the seat options, and he ended up buying 3 different seats at £1,200 a seat. So yeah, it's a thing of absolute beauty. It really is, and with, like I said, a rich history of. Lawrence of Arabia. Obviously, we all know the story about Lawrence of Arabia.
I mean, he died on one. That's not a great story to tell.
It isn't a great story, but he was a huge motorcycle fan, and his favourite bike was the Brough. Yeah. And he had 7 of these, seven the originals. Yeah,
because this one wasn't.
And have you seen how much the originals are now?
No, go on.
Crazy money. I mean, some of them are like up to £500,000.
£500,000.
Yeah, especially if they've got race history as well. I've seen Stafford Motorcycle auction, Bonhams. They sold them for $250,000. It was just a piece of rust. Really? Everyone were like rubbing their eyes. They couldn't believe what it fetched.
No way.
So that's what I'm saying. It's the history of these are just so rich, and they were considered the ultimate, the superior for motorcycles in the 40s.
You and I spend a lot of time staring at motorcycles from all sorts of angles and poking holes, and I know you are, and I myself, I'm so fussy about things. And we talk about beautiful motorcycles, we talk about things like MV Augustas and Ducatis, which are beautiful motorcycles.
They really are.
But they don't bear the close scrutiny that something like this bears. You know, when you start picking around and looking behind the fairing panels, they're an engineered thing.
Exactly,
whereas this is, you've got to look so hard to find a bit of it that's ugly. Everything's beautifully put together. I believe
you could strip this bike down and have it on a table in front of you, and every piece would be a piece of art.
Yeah, except the regulator rectifier underneath. That's about the only. But unless you're being run over by one.
But let's be honest as well. I mean, I love it, you love it, but not everyone does. No. People walk in the showroom and they go, "Oh, I don't like that," because they might just be a full-blown sports bike fan, or they're not into the old British bikes. For me, I love it.
Or they don't like that they're built in France.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a bit of that old.
There is that. And let's not forget to mention the sandwich.
The sandwich bag is one of those acquired taste things, isn't it?
Proper gentleman, just pull out your cucumber sandwich.
Better have some Pims in it.
Yeah.
It looks phenomenal. We could talk about the looks all day and the detail on it, but we're not here for that. We're here to ride it. Yeah. And I appreciate I'm going to be in pretty rare company with this, because there's only 300 of them being made.
That's right, all limited edition numbered.
You never see them.
Yeah.
And you never see one being ridden, really. So I'm quite excited. But what am I going to expect? I mean, obviously it's got a girder fork on it, but power, weight, what are we looking at?
Weight is 185 kilos in weight, so it's pretty light. The suspension setup's really good as well. It'll also give you almost like a gliding kind of feel. Super light clutch, plenty of power. I mean, 105 brake horsepower.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And when we've moved it in the showroom, it's not got the turning circle of a QE2. It turns very easily, and easy to mount as well, on and off. A lot, obviously, more sportier riding position than the original Broughs. But I'm sure you're going to be very impressed. The only thing I can find fault with it really is, sadly, when they brought the Broughs out, I was super excited for the UK with these bikes. And sadly, they just put them in the wrong places to sell them. And almost it's that special. What they should have done, in my opinion, is they should have done a boutique only. So you buy it from the boutique and they give you the full works. But that's what I think they should have done, because the bike deserves that. It really does.
It's not the same guy who's buying a GSXR 750.
Correct.
It's a different person that's going to buy them.
It's the kind of customer who wants to be looked after, wants the buying experience, because it's special. And I think that enhances how expensive these bikes are.
And it wasn't cheap, was it?
Well, with the exhaust and the seats and everything, the list on this actual bike was £72,000. It's big money. Oof. Yeah, it really is. And because they've not really sold well in the UK, the European price are really high on these, but with this particular bike, I mean, it's on at 39,980. It represents good value, and it's lost some money, sadly, and it's only done 250 miles.
This 40,000 bike, this £40,000 bike represents excellent value.
Yeah, you won't want to go off-roading in it, but it's good value compared to
I'm not going to buy it as a winter hack, if that's what you're wondering.
No. Beats a delivery bike, definitely not that.
Not that we've lost perspective or anything.
No.
No, it's, thank you for the opportunity to ride it. It is a very rare thing, and I'm hoping it rides, I'm hoping it rides as good as it looks, but I'm hoping it rides, like you said, different. Yeah. I don't want, if I get on it and it rides like every other sports bike, it will almost be a bit disappointing. I want it to ride in like you say, like a gliding Rolls Royce type.
I can almost guarantee that will be the case. I'd be very surprised if you come back and say otherwise, but I'm sure you're going to be super impressed, and I'm looking forward to sitting down with you after and letting me know what you think.
Yeah, let's stop waffling. Let's go and ride the damn thing.
Let's do it.
Now this Brough Superior, says it on the tin, number 28 of 300, is obviously a ridiculously special bike of limited number production, but one of the things I've noticed the most riding it today is this. It just works. It just works. It doesn't cough and splutter and sulk. It doesn't have terrible fueling. It doesn't have awkward balance and weird brakes. For a limited run special motorcycle, it is a very, very polished and well finished thing, which is unusual. Normally these super specials are phenomenal bits of kit, but they can be finicky and awkward, and simply they just don't have the development time and manpower to create such a finely finished project as you get with a mass-produced motorcycle. You know, the amount of hours it takes to get all that engine calibration right, to get all the little details right, that can take years of experience and years of work and a big team of people, and Brough's done it with a limited 300 run bike. It's really impressive, and I think that's been my overarching feeling from this bike, is how well finished it is and how nice it is to ride. It's not awkward, it's not fighting you every step of the way. I mean, today the road conditions are horrible. It's that damp, cold, greasy, there's mud and gravel and gook all over the roads. And I've been so happy riding this, and I've not been nervous about things it's doing, not even once. That's despite the fact that, you know, we've not got anything like modern ABS systems or traction control stuff. It's very analog, and yet it's been a joy to ride. It's a very powerful, and it revs well for a V twin. It revs really well. But yeah, I was expecting kind of cruisery, lumbery, old-fashioned stuff. That's what I was expecting the engine to be, like a really good, torquey, old-fashioned thing. But it's not. This feels very well thought out. Good job, Brough.
Thanks to the guys at B-Moto. They're one of our sponsors. They help us put together these videos. They give us a chance to come out and ride these bikes and make this content. They also are really good for ensuring stuff like this. any one of these specialist bikes in here, you can phone the guys at Bimoto, they'll know what you're talking about, and they'll help you get the best insurance, whether that's for looking after it when it's laid up in the living room on display, or being sent out around track days and used in the manner it should be. I've got to admit, James was right. That Brough is a phenomenal thing to ride. I don't need to talk any more about the styling or the looks or the engineering or anything like that. We've waffled on about that for long enough. This was a really, really pleasant surprise in that it was actually a fabulous bike to ride. It is a very rare thing, it is a very beautiful thing, but I would happily get up at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning and not stop riding this till the sun went down. It just put such a smile on my face. It was so much fun. It wasn't harsh, it wasn't awkward, it wasn't fiddly. I didn't have to ride around anything. It just made the ride really, really good fun and really, really easy. Amazed by that, absolutely amazed. There's a few little funny features that I liked about the bike. One, the switch cubes are absolutely stunning. They're, you know, rather than a beautiful bike with these big, horrible, gawky plastic switch cubes on it, it's got really nice alloy ones. They've clearly been designed and machines bespoke for this bike. And the buttons, everything just feels really, really nice and special about them.
There's a few little nice character-y details that keep jumping out at me that I love. The fact that every time I brake, or go over a bump or roll the throttle off, that little screen, it looks like it's popping up to see you. It's because the screen's mounted to the girder fork. So you get this little up and down bobbing, which I actually I'm quite fond of, really.
Silly things like that are what make you feel a bit of the character of the bike without wanting to go too wishy-washy. They're the things that make you go, it's a little quirk to it. It's something that I like seeing on a bike, something that is out of the ordinary, that grabs your attention, but doesn't actually spoil the ride. You just go, that's a thing, and I like it. Good job, Brough. The other big surprise with this bike, particularly when you look at it and you look at the kind of classic styling, I know the Broughs were a fast bike back in the day. I never expected this to go like it goes. I expected it to be a kind of lumbery V-twin, beautiful feeling, beautiful sensation character, but I never expected it to actually be fast. That feels like an Aprilia RSV Mille. That's exactly what that engine feels like to me. A little bit slower, but it has like a really nice, creamy, good low down fueling, good mid-range, and then when you rev it out, all of a sudden it goes, and you're like, whoa, it's like I've got a little bit of superbike hidden inside the engine, which again, totally blindsided me. I didn't expect that at all, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm now riding this thing that's quirky, different, cool, easy, comfortable, and fun, and you can now add fast enough to have a bit of mischief about it into the mix, and it's just a little thing that again surprised me. Riding down some of those bumpy B roads today, look, I'm not going to tell you about how sharp the steering is and how I picked it up off my knee because it was freezing cold and soaking wet. It was kind of survival mode. As it started to dry out in the afternoon, did start to be able to push a little bit more and start playing with it a bit more, and it kind of came to life. It's quite slow steering. It feels very long and lazy in the way it steers, but you could fire it out of a corner with that engine, chuck it into the next one, rail across potholes, bumps, bits of gravel, and it never seemed to kick or bump or crash through the travel. It was really, really well behaved. The only time I managed to get it to do anything untoward was when I took my hand off the handlebars whilst accelerating over some massive potholes. And it did shake its head at me then. It didn't like that. In fairness, it settled down pretty quick, but yeah, it had a small wee moment. It was a little bit moody. Again, I think I said this before about Honda's RC30. Bikes like this, it's almost a shame they're so valuable because this thing needs to be ridden. This thing has not been built to just put on shelves and look at. This actually has been, someone in Brough has spent a lot of time developing this to make it rideable and make it ride really, really well. So if you buy one, or if you're lucky enough to have one in your collection, do not hide it away. Get out, even if it's one sunny Sunday a year, get out and enjoy it because it is actually a phenomenal bike to ride and it deserves to not just gather dust.